Going toe-to-toe with Rome is dangerous. Their endless number of allies and client states discourage any form of aggression. We only had the Arevaci on our side, but as their main task is to delay the Lusitani, we can't rely on their support. The Council of Massalia knew the solution was in Africa, the Igari men to the south, and Carthage, our former enemy, to the west. Not to forget the Massalians, the sad ally of Rome, who suffered from a worse illness. They are basically being suppressed by the Latins. Pyrrhus recommended we Hellenize their lands and use their manpower to join our armies. However, the majority wanted us to ally with these tribes, let them help us in a war against the Romans and score a great victory. It was time to make our play. We traveled to the Carthaginians, who still were furious with our past actions. Understandable, to be honest. Yet we still received gold for abandoning our alliance with Rome. They weren't fully convinced by these actions. Let's just hope it changes with time. Till then, it was time to prepare. We went into a massive recruitment rally, made sure our fleets were ready to hold any Roman transports coming our way, while our armies marched north to deal with the traitor. All the gods knew the Emporians had to die. They left good Massalian men to suffer and get butchered like animals at Cyzicus. Years later, the Massalians had allied with 2 more Iberian tribes, while the relations with the African nations continued to improve. They even traded with the Igari men. Their armies will be key to secure the African mainland. Sadly, the time to prepare for this imminent war had come to an end. The Roman fleet sailed at sea to fortify their holdings in Africa. Massalia had to disintegrate Emporians first before focusing on the Romans. Their first few armies were decisively defeated by one of our new regiments. They kicked them out of Cyzicus, finally showing them what happens when you betray Massalia. They probably only stayed in that region just to taunt us with their past deeds. Pathetic. After that, the assault on their city began. To our surprise, this was also where the real war started. Rome decided to help their ally and declared war on us, though the Massalians refused to join the war. The first sign of the relations among our enemies wasn't as positive as initially expected. Due to the presence of a Roman legion near Emporion, the siege dragged out for quite a while. However, that doesn't mean nothing happened. A Roman transport was spotted traveling back to Sardinia, a destination they would never reach. Their ships got destroyed in seconds, with our navy crushing them on sight. The Massalians only lost 15 men that day due to mismanagement of the oars. A true tragedy is how that one man got hit in the head by an oar as someone turned and fell into the water right in the path of another galley. A waste of good manpower, if you ask me. Our second fleet went on to guard the waters between Caralis and Carthage. No ship should cross there and reach our core regions. A key position to hold. We made our last strike on the Emporians after a decisive victory over their navy, leading to a complete blockade of the city. The Romans did help with an honorable defense, but it never turned into any major problems. We could finally march through their massive gates to call it our own. A strong fortress that shall keep our farmland safe. Let's just hope it won't be needed, but we can never be too safe. An act of satisfying revenge, if you ask me. Eumenes, who always led the Massalian forces to battle, decided to capture the remaining Romans still roaming the land. Publius Cornelius Scipio the Elder, father to the man of the same name who conquered Carthage prior to this, for the Romans got captured and executed that day. This violation against the Romans started the first counterattack from their side. While most of our focus was on clearing out the western regions from enemies, the Romans advanced on our African towns by land, snatching Ubon away from us. Their reinforcements were less than 2 months away, meaning the only army we had available to guard our settlements needed to be both swift and effective for us to keep our position. The battle was a lot harder than expected. To be honest, our expectations were extremely low, so it wasn't that hard to do. It was here the true shift in power took place, however. The Numidians had officially broken off from Rome. Syracuse, one of their closest allies, began making diplomatic progress with us. They probably tried to play both sides just like Massalia did with the Iberians, and see how that turned out. A massive advantage for Massalia that the Syracusans now want to reenact. The council kept a close eye on them from then on out. The Igari men officially allied with us as well, making us into a coalition to fight the Romans. But the best of all was the fact that the Sarmatians in southern Italy declared their independence from Rome and forced an internal war inside their own territory. It was clear this required so much attention from the Latins, as the pressure on our African holdings eased up a lot after this. We couldn't have asked for a better opportunity to make our next move, an invasion of Corsica and Sardinia. There was just this one problem. The journey would take almost half a year to complete, even more to prepare for it. Nevertheless, Eumenes embarked onto the Massalian siege fleet. He didn't care about the consequences. The Massalians had a great belief in Poseidon being vastly superior to the Roman Neptune, and thus keep the fleet safe. But as we didn't have enough ships to bring all our armies over at once, the others moved home to Massalia, the beating heart of our fast-growing kingdom and soon-to-be empire. There, they would muster a new fleet purely for army transportation. Once the fleet reached the deeper waters of the Mediterranean, the waves grew bigger, more dangerous, and continuously threatened to drag it into the bottom of the sea. We mere mortals can only imagine the war between the gods taking place right now. Poseidon must have won this time, as our men reached Sardinia unscathed. And they didn't waste any time bringing their valuables off of the ships to build a camp, but instead had the ambition to make the entire island the greatest platform from which they would launch an invasion onto Italy. The port of Olbia happened to be the first Eumenes came across. It was in this battle the Massalians truly realized how much smarter they actually were compared to the Romans. Their ballistae would fire relentless volleys at the main path leading outside of the town to slow down the enemy. That gave enough time for the hoplites to form a ring around the same spot to keep the Balearic slingers, recruited from our war with Carthage, safe to fire as well. That single street became a valley of death. It became even worse for the Romans, as in their panic, they grouped up into a massive blob, thus being even easier to hit. With the Massalians only losing 8 men during that battle, we were stronger than ever, to deal with the real challenge in Caralis. But first, we had to wait for our second invasion fleet that took its time landing at Corsica. A stupid idea, as winter arrived next month to slow down the invasion even more. As impatient as ever, Eumenes decided to begin harassing Caralis while waiting for them, hoping to get a reaction out of the Romans. But it never became more than just a few fake sellouts and a quick retreat back into the town, meaning the second army to the north could conquer Alalia. The rest of the winter they would spend hunting down rebel cells. And while all this happened, something very interesting took place in Africa. We continuously sent gifts to the Carthaginians in an attempt to make up for our past deeds. Well, we didn't actually regret what we did. After all, if not for that war, we wouldn't have been as strong and powerful as we are now. However, their service will be superbly useful to us. Our two fleets linked up to discourage the larger Roman fleet from attacking either of us. The relations between these two nations grew so strong during this period of time that they began trading and even made pacts to not fight one another. But after some time, when both had returned home seeking supplies, the Massalians spotted a Roman navy trying to sneak through the formerly contested waters. This couldn't be allowed, so the Greek fleet sailed out, crushed their ships, to then sail towards Carthage in a counterattack. Publius Cornelius Scipio the Younger sought revenge for the execution of his father and therefore threatened with an attack on Ubon. Though this never actually happened, the Hellenic forces just moved past the Fat Dobbers to go for the former Carthaginian capital. Our combined army and fleet wanted to reach the town before the Igarimen, who recently captured Hetromentum. But it just left the Massalians in a vulnerable spot as the fleet got attacked by a major Roman force. It didn't put up a challenge, yet it was still enough to delay the ships from being able to support the army for the attack made by Scipio. The Roman war machine finally got a battle in their favor, yet they need to listen more to Athena, or Minerva as they call her, cause what the Massalians had planned for them was extremely clever. Their main Hellenic force were positioned on top of a hill, but in a forest further down, a contingent of 3 sword units waited for the Romans to engage so they could outflank the enemy. As they got closer to our lines, we sprung our trap. The elephants, which the Carthaginians have given to us, moved out on the sides as well to prepare for a devastating charge. After a decisive victory over the Romans, our great sacrifice proved to be wasted. The Igarimen had besieged the majestic city only worthy of being ruled by Massalia. Once again, the Massalian schemes came into use, a trick we learned from our former Emporian traitors. We placed our army near the town, acting as if we wanted to help them, but as the attack was about to take place, the Greek forces stayed away. Some may call this a double standard. However, as history is written by the victors, our great reputation will persevere. I should probably also mention how we lost one of our fleets in a major battle, but again, that will be forgotten in all of our other victories. With Africa secured, the same happened to Sardinia. Caralis was liberated, meaning our platform for the Great Invasion was ready. We quickly dispatched spies to Sicily to see if the path was clear. After the confirmation of it being so, we set sail once again.